All right, well, let's see here. We're back. Okay. Well, we're back. It has been a long time. I needed to take quite a long break. But I am ready to get back to work. Oh, this thing just keeps breaking on me, and I've yet to figure out why it keeps doing that. Oh, I think I'm probably overloading my stream PC with too many USB devices, but whatever. We'll spend most of our time under the microscope anyhow, so today will be no different. We are going to be getting back to the swing of things here. And for anyone out there who was following, while I actually was streaming fairly consistently, this is a PC Engine LT. I don't even know what this is from. Yeah. So we were working on this last year. And I got to the point where I pulled off all of the old capacitors, got the game card reader removed, and then I just needed a long break. So I ended up taking us quite some time off and focusing on myself for a little bit. A little mental health reboot, so to speak. And now I am kind of itching to get back into repair work, mainly because this has been sitting around on my bench for months now, and I really need to get this finished up so I can add it to my collection. For those of you that are unaware, this is a PC Engine LT, which is essentially a portable PC Engine. Very, very rare, made only in the Japanese market for about a year or two. Very, very expensive, and this is my second one that I've ever worked on. So we are going to start today by putting back all the capacitors that I took off. It is a very labor-intensive process. It is a very pain in the ass to do on this particular console because of how compact everything is. And it'll take me a couple hours just to get the caps back on. So hopefully by the end of all this, we'll at least have a thing functionally working. If I don't put it all back together. Now we do have the benefit that it is known working. I did verify that, so yeah, we've got that going for us. Okay, so I've got this little capacitor map. I think we're going to start with this section of the board, and then maybe just kind of go left to right and move our way up. I might have to clear out some. Looking like I got a couple of through holes that I still got to clear some solder out on, but unfortunately, when the caps start to leak, they make the solder very hard to wet down due to the corrosion. So what ends up happening is you end up with a lot of extra crappy solder in the through holes that you got to manually clear out later. But we did do a good job. No rip pads. No massive damage. I think I had a couple of spots where the PCB mask came off a little bit, but really nothing major. So, yeah. Let's get this thing, make sure we got this working right. Okay, so now you can all take a better look at where we're going to start here. And let's see here. I'm going to put autofocus on for a second. Just get you focused in. Okay. So I'm thinking that we're gonna basically do the middle guy last, and we'll take care of these two inner ones and then the outer ones, and that should be just fine. Yeah, you can see like right here, there's a little tiny bit of the PCB mask came away, but all that's really not a problem. All right, so let's just take a look at my capacitor map we got going. So 2 oranges, which are I to the right, and those are 100 microfarad, 6.3 volts. Problem with these capacitors are not easily marked, so you got to kind of look at all of them to figure out what's what. And these are 16 volt, 100 microfarad. Probably what I need, because I don't think we have. Yep, quantity 6. That's exactly what I need right there. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we got our start. Let's get going. All right, so we're gonna do now. I need 2. Just use 1 now, I think. With these, we got to remember these are polarized. Not all caps are marked, but we can see right here negative, and we also have a silkscreen outline that we can use to kind of align our caps. But the basically the capacitor map that I'm using right now actually has positives and negatives marked for me. And the good thing about this particular board is that for the most part, all the negative faces north. Most part. There's a couple of caps, I think like 2 or 3, where they face to the east. I'm saying 2, you got 3, you got 3 that face to the east. So for the most part, you can approach these guys knowing that it's going to be facing north for the negative side. So, but just double check yourself and make sure that you got everything facing the right way, because fixing mistakes on these is not the easiest thing in the world, and it's kind of something that you really want to avoid there. All right, the flux will help the solder flow some. It'll also kind of keep the component tacked down a little bit. But because everything is so tight, I want to try to make the joints form as effortlessly as possible. And you'll see right here I'm talking to you about tight spaces, because I've got to get a soldering iron tip in between this metal shield of the power switch and that positive contact. So what I'm probably going to do is hit the top one first to get things tacked down. And then we shall do the other side, okay? I think if I do this right. I'm going to need to do this like I was thinking, holding on the top of the cap just to keep it in place. There we go. Nice little tap-taparoo. Then we should be able to basically get the other one done properly and then come back up to the top one more time. See, that was a nice solid joint there. And we just tap. Give it a little bit of a wiggle test here. I'm going to see, I got a little bit of solder on that switch. I'm going to have to break off. Okay, so basically now, just kind of hold it down. Really make sure there's no solder on that. And then we're just going to re-tap the joints. Sitting everything nice and flush to the board. And there we go. You can see there's no wiggle on that, which is what you want, so you know you have a nice solid connection. So you can see that little tiny chunk of solder. You want to make sure, you definitely want to make sure that you pick these all up, simply because they're conductive. Oh, okay, so now we repeat one more time. Yeah, it's been a while. This feels so weird to me now. I haven't done any repair work in over a month. The funny thing is, I went into my vacation fully planning on working a lot, and my brain just said, you know what, I think you need just to watch some YouTube and play some video games and reset your brain a little bit. So that's what I did. But unfortunately, with me, the problem with those resets is that it makes it hard to get back to where I was, because then my brain gets used to being in the reset mode. And I've been trying for the past couple of weeks to get back to it, but there have been some hard to ignore fun stuff to do. Like Palworld released Tarkov Wipe, which I used to be, or Tarkov was my main addiction in video games. And I kind of fell out of love with it last year. But then they wiped in December, and it's actually been very, very good this year. So we kind of got back into it for the past month. I want it nice and smooth. I'm going to put a little solder on that one. And it's a game for me where it just takes over my life. Didn't really reach that point this time, but I did invest a lot of hours into it. Obviously way more than I have been. So that kind of took my hand. And Palworld just released, and we've been grinding that one kind of hard. That's been good. I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to enjoy it as much as I can before Nintendo shuts it down. All right, so we have to the left. So these are green caps. I think I have them marked as F, which is 33 microfarad, 10 volts. Okay. 33, and there is a quantity of 3 of those on the board, so assuming it's going to be these guys right here. Could be wrong. Could be also maybe these guys. Let's get both of them out, and we'll take a look. 33 microfarad. Ooh, almost lost this guy. Okay, so you are... It's a 47 microfarad, so that's not it. It's got to be this guy. 33. I don't list the voltage on these, but I know that's correct, so we will roll with it. Get some brain juice real quick. So a little bit more insight into what I've been doing. I've been teaching myself how to speak Japanese. So I've pretty much been obsessed with Japan since, I don't know, 1984. I was born in the 80s, and I grew up watching Voltron and Robotech and whatnot. And Japan has always been this mystical place for me that, if there's any place in this world that I absolutely have to visit before I die, it's Japan. And taking my vacation in December, one of the things that someone mentioned to me is that, I never go anywhere. I always stay at home. And that got me thinking that, I'm getting old. And I need to start using my time more effectively. And is that good? Is that right? I mean, it fits, but it seems very small. Do I have any more 33 microfarads? I don't think I do. So these are 47s, right? Yeah. These just feel small. Those are 3.3. And even smaller anyway. That's gotta be right. Just wish they had the voltage written on them. And there's 22s, yeah. So they're right. That's right. It just looks weird, I guess. Anyway, back to my boring story. But I set myself a goal. I want to visit Japan 3 years from now. And that'll give me way more than enough time I need to save up. Because it's going to be about, I'd say it's going to cost me, all said and done, just around $4,000 US to do a 2-week stay. Because if I'm going to Japan, I'm not doing a week trip. I'm literally going to be doing a 2-week stay. Because it's not something that's very accessible. There's kind of the one thing about living in Europe that's so nice is that, technically in Europe, you can go to France, you can go to Spain, you can do all this stuff, and they're just mere hours away. And Japan is quite literally on the other side of the world for me. So the fact remains is that due to the expense and the travel requirements, I need to basically cram as much into that trip as I possibly can. But aside from the monetary requirements, and while it's not required if you want to go visit yourself, I wanted to learn the language because when I go, I want to be able to interact with the people around me. And then while certain cities like Tokyo especially are very easy to get around with knowing zero Japanese, you still there's just this lack of connection you have to the local people if you can't really speak with them besides like asking them how to get to the train station and where the closest bathroom is. I want to be able to at least talk a little bit about myself and where I'm from and why I'm here. And you know I kind of feel like it also being able to speak some of the language shows that you have a little bit more appreciation for the culture and who they are as a people, and that you're not just some obnoxious tourist there to go buy use panties out of a vending machine because you saw it on the internet. Like, I like Japan. I like Japanese culture. If I was going to relocate to a foreign country permanently, it would be Japan. 100%. Without a doubt in my mind. Just broke my solder feeder somehow. Okay, weird. And I'm sure as most folks are aware, Japanese is not the easiest language to learn, especially for an English speaker. We're gonna actually kind of move this just a little bit. I think I got a better access this way. But I have to say, I learned the alphabet with it's called. They've got a couple of character systems. They've got hiragana, katakana, and kanji, which is probably what everyone is most familiar with, which are the big quote-unquote Chinese-looking symbols. But the hiragana and the katakana are basically their version of the alphabet. And it's actually quite easy to pick up, especially with a lot of the online tools they have out there right now. And I think it's called spaced learning is the methodology I've been using to approach this, which is, you cram and then you let it sit for a while and you go back and you test yourself and then focus on the things that you are struggling to remember and then do it again. And then as you progress, you let the gap between your last test and the next one increase so that you have a longer period of time between retests. And eventually it starts to be just, it's just like learning any other language. You just start to pick up on it. And I've gotten to the point now where, I don't know what the words, what the actual vocab is, but I could read. I've been spending a lot of time watching Japanese language YouTube, and while I'm not fluent, I can pause a subtitle and translate the symbols into, they call it Romaji, which is the the English alphabet spellings of Japanese words, and I can kind of get that going. Obviously, I'm very, very slow, but it is a very, very gratifying. This is a 220 microfarad 10 volt through hole. It's a very satisfying feeling, and I kind of want to get to the point where I could sit down and read a Japanese language manga. Okay, so with the through holes, the longer lead is the positive, and you can also see that the negative is marked on that one side and not on the other, so we'll just feed this through. Anyway, I do want to get to the point where I could read Japanese manga fluently. Even if I can't read at the pace that I could with an English novel. Perhaps I can at least read it, you know. And ultimate goal would be I'd love to be able to um, watch anime without subtitles, and even just understand Japanese in general without the need to read. I think that'd be kind of cool. But I don't, I think to get to that level, you need to be what's known as like N2. There's 5 different levels of knowing Japanese, which according to some people, really don't mean much. But basically, they break it down from N5, which is I know very little, but enough. I think it's 1,000. Wow. Okay. Do I have to bump the heat up on this one? That's interesting. We actually never really had much of an issue here. Okay, with through-hole stuff, this is maybe not the right tip for it. Huh. Yeah, that's not good. Let me just bump the heat up a little bit. Do a little boost. Okay. Maybe now, just tap-tap-a-roo. Do I have to change out the tip for this? No, that looks good. That's fine. Wow, I just did not. I was at 350 degrees Celsius. Um, and just to try to reduce the stress on the board, so to speak. Let's clean this up a little bit here, though. Got a lot of flux in the area, and I kind of want to examine that one joint because it's looking a little funky to me. But yeah. Anyway, I was actually quite surprised to see how quickly. Yeah, I need to tap that just a little bit more. If I did the 350, and then I think using the boost is pretty good there. Let's just re-tap this one here. Just make it look a little bit nicer. Oops, knocked that out of frame, of course. Kind of see like how it's sort of tacked down that one side, but the other is definitely lacking. Kind of want to say that we're good there, but it still feels like weird to me. Like, okay, that looks good. All right, there we go. But yeah, it's there's so much that you can learn for free. And then I spent just recently about $80 on a couple of textbooks to learn kanji and vocab and grammar. And so what I'm going to do now that I've got a grasp on hiragana, katakana, and all the various combinations and whatnot, I'm going to start teaching myself some kanji. And I figured maybe like once I memorize around 100 kanji, I'd start digging into the vocab and the grammar. Because unfortunately, with Japanese learning, all the textbooks are pretty much in all Japanese. So you have to I mean, I know that they do Ramaji and stuff, and they explain to you what the words are per chapter that you're using. So you got that going for you, but the more you know before you start, the better is kind of the thinking I was getting from all the people who do the learn how to speak Japanese in 6 months type videos, which, believe me, that's not my goal. I think if you're really good with languages, or you have the time to dedicate the amount of time that you need to dedicate to learning something in 6 months, and that's good for you, then go ahead and do it. But for me, I've given myself 3 years. And on top of that, I'm not looking to become like native speaker fluent, which I think is kind of the N1 level, the highest that you can get. Maybe after 7 years I can get to that level, but for now, I just want to be able to go to the country and read signage and menus and maps and maybe, cool information posts and shit like that, and sit down in a izakaya, which is basically like a very, very tiny little bar. It's very communal, and get to know some people, maybe make some Japanese friends for the future. That would be really cool, so that when I come back, I'll have people I know. So there we go. So I believe these are all audio related capacitors, but you can see all 4 of them, or 5 actually, have negative to the north. That was a little kind of wonky, but looks good to me. Nice solid solder joints. So we're good there. So let's go ahead and let's head over to this guy. Now, this guy is right above the controller port. And this is one of the first ones. It's also an F, which is one of the ones I just used and I can't seem to see anymore. Oh, there it is. The last one. This is the first one that has the negative side facing the east. So as we can see here, when I just test fit this, we'll have the black stripe facing to the right, which that's not correct. But when we look at the silk screen, you can see how the flat spot. Alright, so I think if I do this right, I could do something like that. That'll give me good enough room to get in there. Now this one I remember was so this is plastic. This I think is a transformer. I don't remember right. This is a crystal. But all of these combined make getting to this pad kind of a pain in the butt. But we'll be alright. We got it done last time without melting anything, so I think we can get it done this time without melting anything. I hope so. Does remind me I need to go clean up the other side of the board too when I'm done here. We'll get it both done at once, I guess. Alright, so I'm thinking of course that would happen, huh? Oh, what a pain. There we go. Now you're all covered in flux. That's great. Anyway, like I said, black stripe to the right. Let's get you on your pad here. Something like that's going to give me good room to work. Now I think if I approach it like this. Alright, so this variable resistor is going to be a slight pain in the butt, but should keep that held down. Alright. Maybe we should bump this up a little bit. Maybe we'll go up to 365. Might make this a little easier here. So we're just going to grab a little bit of solder on our tip. Hold this in place. Be very careful. Son of a bitch. Alright. Unfortunately, I am going to have to do this and this. There we go. Get you on a more flat surface. It was on the edge of my rubber mat, so it was kind of bobbling back and forth there. I'm thinking that should be good. Okay. There we go. Yep, see that little bit of extra heat. Now, I think I made a boo-boo here. So I gotta be very, very careful I don't. Alright, that's gonna be fine. Alright, so now the tricky part is getting to that other side there. And I think, as long as I'm just sneaky enough here, I'm basically trying my best to stay the hell away from that plastic. So it's got to be like more of a vertical. Let's see. There we go. Now I'm not going to count that. That guy very, 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 very barely just. It didn't even really do anything. Okay. But let me just give this a little wiggle test to make sure here. I think I could probably press down on that just a little bit and get a better better weld. Unfortunately, it's just that crystal that just makes everything so miserable in that transformer as well. So that's probably about as good as I'm going to get it. And I'm not willing to really muck with it further. It doesn't seem like it's really worth it. So we'll give her a clean here. Yeah. A tiny bit of a wobble, but you know, honestly, not bad. Okay. Same thing, we'll just kind of quick little alcohol bath here just to maybe okay, now we're gonna move up to right above the crystal. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 with one through hole. So I think we're just basically gonna work from the switch out with the surface mounts, and then we'll do the through hole last. You can see a little bit of the PCB mask on the through hole is lifted, but not bad. All of the through hole caps on this particular board were a major pain in the butt for me to get off due to how corroded they were. So, okay, so let's pull up my capacitor map here. So we've got two B's, a G, and a K. So we're going to start with the B, and the B is a 3.350. And we have 5 of them, so I think that would be these guys. Pull you out. Okay. Now, this one was a pain from what I remember. Just mainly due to the location of that switch in the crystal. Just line this guy up as well real quick. And I guess while we're at it, we'll just do this one over here. Might as well. I mean, you don't need too much flux, but if you end up with a little extra, it's not going to hurt much. Alright, so just double check. I'm pretty sure these all face north. They do. And I think this one's actually not so bad. It's the legs of the crystal that kind of get in the way on this one. So let's just gently place you on the board and see what we got to work with here. See, these fit so much nicer than those other 3.3s did. Well, it could just be the components are a little bit smaller and modern sized than they were at the time. See, that's a much tighter fit than... Okay, so this one actually is going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Mainly due to this transformer, which I can bend a little bit. But I think that should be okay. So let's go ahead and try that. You know, I never did. It does say that I am live. I never did advertise, but that's okay. Just double checking to make sure that I am live here. Yep. Okay. Looking good. Huh. For some reason, Gmail doesn't want to load for me, but whatever. Anyway, let's get back to the business at hand here, which is getting this capacitor soldered down. Okay, let's see here. Of course not. Alright, so how did I do this last time? How did I do you last time? I could have just done, let's do the, maybe we do the outside one first. That one's a little bit more accessible. So perhaps it's a better candidate. Let's see, I can get to the pad a little bit easier this way. So let's try this one. Probably put a little bit too much solder on the tip here. Gotta be a little careful about that resistor. I don't want to float it off or bridge it. Perfect. So that's nice and tacked down. Now we can begin the fun part here. Now let's see. What is the best way for me to get to you? Is it just come in the crystal side? I think that's kind of what I'm going to do. Bring the solder in from the other side, like so. And did not work. I'm in trouble. So it's got to be more like this. I can't. I'm having trouble just making good contact. Actually, don't remember this one being so difficult before. It looks slightly soldered, but it's still. I think this is how I did it. Actually, now that I remember it, because this tip has a beveled edge, and that's where the best heat transfer occurs. So it's like you kind of got to get that. There we go. All right, that should be A-okay. Okay, so now that we've got it kind of soldered and tacked in, I can maybe. Okay, so this other side might kind of be a little suspended, maybe. Let's do it this way instead. Better use of my hands here. I'm just trying to make sure these things are as, honestly, as flush to the board as possible. really think that's about as good as we're going to get it, to be quite honest. So we'll move on from that. No reason to keep spending so much time here. All right, in the middle of that is a G, which is a 47 microfarad. I've got 3 of those, so I think that would be this guy that we were looking at before. Okay. And 47, 6 volts, right? Which I said was a G, 6.3 volts, and this is, oh, I'm guessing that's okay. It's gotta be. Alrighty, so once again, we got the negative facing the north. King of the North. Ooh, does remind me. We should be getting a new season of House of Dragon pretty soon, so that's going to be exciting. I think we're going to do the same thing with this one. Even though the other side is actually slightly more accessible, I think we'll start with the spot closest to the TV tuner. Or is that the harder one? I think that's the harder one. Maybe we do just come on in now. This one's going to be a little difficult because I've got that IC to kind of pay attention to here. I don't want to bridge anything on the way in. Okay, that's tacked down at least. Now, let's see about this side here. So we've got to kind of have the... Boy, that's very, very tight now. Perfect. All right, we're just going to hit the other one up a little bit more solder now. Just a tad bit more. Just to make sure. Looks good. As long as you can't really see the leg, let's just do the wobble test here. Yeah, that's good enough. It's a little slightly wonky, maybe. Good bubbles though. And you can see some of the PCBs right underneath. It's kind of rotted away with that leaky cap. Okay, so the other one should be another. That's a B, which was the 3.3 50 volt. Just these guys. Okay. And once again, negative is north. I think I don't ever learn my lesson. It's so much easier just to place these with tweezers versus your fingers. Alright, so this one in general should be much easier to deal with compared to the last. Okay. Can't really tell. That does look like it's soldered though. Might have to add a little bit more to that one. Yeah. Looking good. Okay, so that leaves the through hole for the last, and the through hole was a K, and K is a 220 6.3. Oh no. Oh no, 226.3. I might have screwed up here. Which isn't a huge deal, but still not fun. I made the assumption, and I should never assume. Alright, so this is 220 10 volt, which actually, you know what, now that I think about it, 6 volt and L was a 220 10. I think as long as they're both 10 volts, which they do look to be the same capacitor, so yes, 10 volts. Okay. I'm okay. Alright, so we need negative going to the north. So as we can see, this is the cap I just put in. Everything is facing to the north, white stripe to the north. And then we just go on the back side here. We can see our two little through holes that we got to get to. And we'll just put a nice little bead of flux between them. That should be fine. Yeah. I think we need a boost again. I don't really like how that turned out. But the problem that I'm going to have is I don't really think it matters. I'm just trying to convince myself that it doesn't matter. Let's do a little autofocus here real quick. It seemed to me that we should be fine. Continuity test here. Let's say that this little, I'm guessing, transistor. Yeah. I think if that's the negative side, then yeah, that's ground. And then that's fine. Okay, we're okay. I could clean that up if I really, really felt like it, but I think it's just unnecessary as long as I'm not. Alright. Tune focus now. Just do that real quick. Should be okay, right? I'm a little concerned about that because that does not seem like it should be connected. So let's just go ahead and do a quick little sanity test while I'm still here before I boot this thing up and have to remember. So we got this guy here. Yeah, I probably should have done that a different way. But it's fine. I could go in there. Maybe I could nip that out a little bit better. Maybe. Perfect. Now we shouldn't have any issues, period, but just in case, we're going to double check here. It's a quick fix now, less later. That does appear to be okay, though. Kind of as I figured. Okay, so that's that section completed. Shove all these back in there so I'm not losing anything, and flip her over and keep on going, huh? Okay, so I think we've got a section of the right where I'm looking at it right now, actually. Let's just double check down below here. So this is the section I just completed. Let's let that focus again. Okay, so all of the north, soldered in good. Looking good. So now we move up to this section. Oof, there's a lot here. So let's take a look at this section real quick and get a good plan of attack. Because that's important with this board. Soldering in the right order will make your life a lot easier. Let's go back and check chat. There hasn't really been anybody in there today, but that's fine. That's what you get for stopping streaming for a month. All your loyal viewers just go away. So I think this is a tough call. So I think if I go like do these, or this and that one for sure. Yeah, so okay. Let's do, we're going to do this one first, and then we're going to do this one. Then I think we're going to do this one, this one, this one, then that one. And that should be good. Alright, so that is D. And D is a 22 microfarad, 6.3 volt, quantity 2, which I do believe would be this guy right here. .2, 6.3. Okay, so we got that pulled out. Let's go ahead and do our fluxing. All right. And once again, we got the negative to the north. I'm going to learn from our mistakes and use a tweezer to place. Okay. So I'm thinking probably be easier to do it this way. Okay. Oh man, I've got a whole lot of Neo Geos too that I got so far, and I actually got them all working, and then I needed an RGB modem, and it just kind of, everything just kind of fizzled out on me for a minute. So I'm either going to be doing this tomorrow, or we're going to start working on the RGB tuning for the Neos. I've really got to get moving. I mean, my credit card company actually decreased my credit limit because of what I was spending and what I was paying back. So that's on me, but I've really got to work on getting those sold so I can pay back that debt. So if anybody wants to buy a Neo Geo, just comment below. Prices are going to be pretty good, my opinion. Anyhow, I think we're good there. I don't really think I can get that better. I'll just do a quick little love tap here in the front. Just don't want to have any of that solder really kicking around. And then good enough. Okay, so we said we were going to do the two ones closest to these. I don't know if these, I think they're potentiometers. I believe these control contrast. Alright, so that is a G, which is a 4763. So I should have two of those left, which I think will make that these guys right here. 47 6-volt. I guess they consider 6.3 and 6 volts to be close enough. Probably 0.3 is not going to be enough to pop a capacitor. There are some pretty high voltages that do pass through these boards, though, with the backlight circuit. So, but if this circuit never sees those high voltages, then 6 volts is pretty close to what the system runs on. Just dropped my damn tweezers and they literally just disappeared. Alright, got them. Once again, negative to the north and to the end. So now this one is kind of 6 one way, half a dozen another on which side I'm going to do first, because they're both pretty open. So I think I'm just going to do this one first. Come on. And solid. There we go. Good and solid. Double check chat real quick before I go back. Nothing there. Okay, so we got that. So with the other blue is going. So I've got an orange, which is an I. I is 100 microfarad. Oh, that's one of the bigger guys. So that's this guy right here. So we're going to have two oranges, two blues, and the red. I've already got the red done. Let's get this board oriented the correct direction here so I don't confuse myself. Okay, so we've got those two. So there's the 22 and the 47, so I think the one right below it is the big boy. And that would be the eye. Yes, yes. Shut up, multimeter. Okay, got that pulled out. Let's get some flux going here. Alrighty then. Once again, negative to the north. And we'll flip the board. I think we're just going to do the positive edge first here. That definitely seems to be a little bit more agreeable for tacking. I think. Just kind of nudge it a little bit like that. Give me a little bit more room on the negative side. And then that way I can get my tool in there just a little bit easier. That should be good there. Okay. Then we can flip. And then readjust my camera. Okay, so this is going to be a tiny bit of a tight squeeze here, but not a huge deal. Okay, and then now that I have a hand freed up, we can just come back in and look at that. A little bit of a wobble, but not a huge deal. Now we're moving. Okay, so we got decisions to make now. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I could. I think doing this guy. I guess, you know, on this one, it's 6 and half a dozen another. Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and do 400. And 400 is a 4.7 microfarad. Okay, that's the last of the 4.7s. And once again, flux her up. Okay. Tacked in. A little bit of a shift here. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And then okay, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of just a touch. There you go. I feel a little bit better about that. Actually, I'm gonna. Yeah. We'll do a little bit of another hold down here. Just really wanted to make sure I got the. Yeah, that looks great. Perfect. Cool. And we're moving along pretty quick on this build. We have 2 left. Okay, so the 2 left we have are a C and an I. So I think I'm going to do the C first because the I is much more accessible for me. Yeah, that makes sense. So C is a 10 microfarad 16 volt, but I only have one of these, so it's probably one of the loose ones in here. This is probably too beefy for that, so we'll pull it but set it aside. I don't think that's it. I think it's going to be this tall boy right here. Pull this guy out. And then finally this guy out. I'm pretty sure it's not that big fat boy over there. No, it can't be. But this guy. Now, let's take a look at what we got. So this is a 50 volt. That's way too much, right? C is 16, so that's a little high. Now this guy is 10. So I think that's correct. So using my fat fingers, I'm going to start using a tweezer here. It looks to be 6 microfarad 50 volt. Do I have one of those? So 3.350, 1 microfarad 50, which I think is this guy. 150. And then we're looking for a 1016. And that is a 2235. So maybe it was this guy right here. That's a 10. So I think now this one is the negative faces east. So we're gonna set that one aside and put these 2 right here so we don't lose them. Well, just to rule it out, even though this is looking way too big for what that is supposed to be, we're just gonna check it out just to be sure. Nope. This is a 4735. So I think we have the right one set aside to use. So let me go put these away before I lose them. Done. Then we're gonna flux the board. Okay, so the front one's going to be obviously the easier one to get to here. So we'll go ahead and get that one done first. Perfect. Let's get some fresh solder going here. I'll double check my chat real quick, make sure I'm not ignoring anyone. Nope, definitely not. Oh, I hope my chatters come back. Do feel bad. It's kind of building up a pretty small but consistent community. And, you know, that's the kind of way the streaming world works. It's like you have to be... The number one piece of advice that I see from popular streamers is that the best key to success is consistency. So if you're thinking about doing streaming as more than a hobby, because this is just a hobby for me, if you do want to build up a good viewer base, the best thing you can do is have a very consistent schedule that you are able to keep to. Because the moment you kind of leave somebody's mind, it's pretty easy to not come back. But if you're always there, or they know that when you're going to be there, and they like your stuff, they'll keep coming back. So, but for me, this is just... I'm going to be doing the work anyway. I might as well have a nice video record of it. On top of which, you can watch yourself improve. And if I somehow, I don't know, made it, I guess, I won't complain about that either. But I don't have any... To me, this is not going to be replacing my day job, in a sense, you know. Even if I did build somewhat of a following, I still think it would always be more of a hobby than a full-time thing. But I sure as shit would not complain if I got to, like, Tim the Tatman levels of viewership, even though I think that would be kind of nerve-wracking, and there's no way that many people want to watch me solder capacitors onto a circuit board. It's a pretty niche genre as it is, so to speak. It's kind of dominated by people like the Coder and whatnot, who I think they've got like over 100K. Joey Does Tech, Tronics Fix. All those guys are the big boys in the scene, so to speak. And this is a 100 microfarad 6.3, which is this guy right here. And this one's to the north. I only have one more capacitor that's going to be facing east for the negative. That's going to be in one of the next sections that we do. Okay. Almost done with this section. This is going by a lot faster than I expected. So let's maybe just come in like... Okay, no, we're not. There we go. All right. And looking good. Let's just go ahead and it's a little bit of an alcohol wash here. All right. Looking good. We are at 1:09 p.m. too. Okay, so we're motoring along. I think I've been streaming for like an hour and a half now. Maybe. Hour and a half, yeah. And we've got like, I'd say we're probably halfway there. 2 big sections and then 1 tiny one. That's just a holdout. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll look at, to me, this is probably the most nerve-wracking section. Mainly just this guy right here. I don't like soldering this guy because of this. Flex connector is very, very close. I think we are going to do... We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think that's probably the best way to do it. I do have... Oh, yeah, and then we have this guy by himself, which is another nerve-wracking one, because you have this plastic and then this plastic. So I think what I end up doing is pushing this pretty far forward on this pad to give me just enough room to get in there. But I'm going to be sweating on that one here. We can see that this hole right here as well is in need of some cleaning out. I don't think I'm going to get to actually putting on a cartridge connector today. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's just all ground plane there. But we look pretty good. So let's... CC401 is an A, which is the 50 volt 1 microfarad. Which I think was this one. Nope. This guy's pretty big for that. I think this is not it. Put that one aside real quick. This guy's the one I think I'm looking for here. That was it. I saw the 5 before it fell out of frame there. That wasn't correct, so we'll put you back into the bag. Okay, and on these guys, every single one in this section is facing to the north. It's this guy up top that's not. So we have rescued this cap. Bring you into focus here. 50 volts, 1 microfarad. Looking good. Alright, so now this freaking TV tuner. This is this big old metal box to the right. This is the TV tuner. And then right on top of that, we have the DC power jack, which is used to power the TV portion of this, because that was another feature of this console, which unfortunately will never ever work again because we're on digital signals now, but it used to also function as a TV. So it was really truly an all-in-one entertainment center. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to watch TV on a 7-inch screen, but I guess, living in Japan with how tight space is over there, it's probably a pretty attractive idea, even though it kind of did not pan out for NEC. I think that it was just too expensive of a console, especially when, you could just get a normal PC Engine for, God, probably a tenth to a fifth of the cost. I don't know. They were not PC engines themselves. Even if you want to talk about like the core graphics or the super graphics or whatever, I think all of those really generally were not much more expensive than a Nintendo, even in 1990s money. So I think this is kind of more of a Neo Geo type of, this is how I can show you that I'm rich type of toy. And it wasn't really portable either. That's the thing. I mean, it's LT stands for laptop. And that is a pretty good description of it. It is definitely more of a laptop device. I don't think I would ever play this thing. I mean, it's got a built-in D-pad and buttons and whatnot. So you don't need a controller, but I don't think I would play this without a controller. I think if I do it like that. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Just move our way up the line. So 101, right next to that is 22 microfarad, which I think is this guy right here. Yes. Same thing with this guy. Should be good enough. That one's going to need a little bit more solder when we're through with this one. Let's go ahead and get this one a little tap down real quick. There we go. Nice and solid now. Okay. So we're going to move up. And that would be... I think we're going to do this one last. So I can get to this one, and I still have pretty easy access. So this guy is a 3.350, which we had a quantity of 5 of, which means it would be this one. .3. All right, so this is one of the first nerve-wracking ones that we've got. So, once again, I'm going to go negative to the north here. Okay, that's not... Lose our capacitor. Now, I might take the opposite approach with this one. I'm gonna squeeze the... just like that. I think... that might be good enough. This is a very, very nerve-wracking joint. I have very, very, very little room between the pad and that plastic connector. I might even just, for the sake of it, I might put a little bit of foil around it. Or some Kapton tape at the very least. I give myself as much room here as possible. Okay. I'm not going to fuss with the alignment too much on this now. Okay, so let's see here. I think okay, so that worked a lot better than I remember it. I have way more room than... Looking good. And so the last two we've got to do. Let's do 100, which I think was another gray one. So that's the 3.3. Almost done with these. Almost done. I think. Yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3 through holes, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more. I feel like... Yeah, we should have... I feel like I'm missing a capacitor now. I feel like I'm missing... Oh, there's the orange ones. Okay. Whew. Okay. So, let's get this fluxed up. Once again, negative to the north. Okay, good enough for government work. Then we have one final one up here. Now this one we're going to approach from this side, just like so. That one is an orange one, which I think is this guy right here. 100 microfarads. Okay. And then I'm going to have the other orange one go down here. Okay. Yep. Definitely on track. Alright, let's get you going here. Perfect. Just a little bit of splooge on the pads. Okay. There you are. This one goes to the east. It's the last one on the board that faces east. And I think we're going to try to do the same here. This is a bit more of a tight fit, but I think maybe I could nudge just a little bit. Just like an extra millimeter worth of room would be awesome. I could even just barely get like a little bit. Perfect. That should be good there. Okay. So now all right. Look at that. I guess I just psyched myself out. I seem to remember these being a lot more difficult, but, you know, I mean, maybe it's just good to be scared and then find out you're just being a weenie. All right. I mean, that's nice and good there. And then the last guy, I got a K. He's a through hole, right? Yeah, K. 226.3. I think there's a 22010, which I'm pretty sure is it. That's a 470, which is definitely way too much. This is a 100, so these are too much. Or not enough, I should say. And this final guy should be in probably another 100 or so, I guess. This is a 70 microfarad, 16, no, 470. Yeah, that's a 470. So we have two 470s, which are power related, and this should be a 100 microfarad 30, and then this 22010 right here is fine. So now we're going to have the negative obviously go to the north on this one as well. Should have these cleared up pretty good. Looking like that's the case. Alrighty. She is in. This one does not seem like it's going to give me much of a problem soldering it. Now, I guess I'm going to learn from my past here. We're going to crank you up to 400. Just to make this a little bit easier. And real quick, just toss all you back so I don't lose anything. Then we'll get the solder. Put you back in the frame there. And a little bit of solder on the tip to make things easier here. Definitely don't want to get that in the way. Okay. And okay. Nice and shiny. Look at that. That one went way easier. Little extra heat, but it also helps that there's no frickin' components in the way. Okay, we're gonna just grab that. Nip. And then the other side. And zoom in. Yep. And we'll just take a little bit of some rubbing alcohol. Clean up over here. Cool. Should be good. Just maybe. Hey. Mop up a little bit. Yeah, nice little squeak usually means we're nice and clean. All right. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking section of the board, in my opinion, just simply due to the location is so much plastic. Now we're just going to go ahead and clean up as best I can here. Try to dissolve some of that flux and keep the board as clean as I could possibly keep it. It's not a huge deal. I mean, there's two schools of thought, you know. Some people are like, nah, it's no clean flux, you're fine. Other people say, no clean flux still has corrosive chemicals in it. I always look at it like, somebody else wants to open this up. I'd rather it not be a sticky mess for them. Okay, so now this section right here, we're gonna do the surface mount stuff first, and then we'll do the through holes. So we've got 2 more surface mounts here. So this is the speaker connector. I may end up pulling that off. T500 also looks like it kind of might need some more solder on it. Nope, that's good. Okay, we're fine there. But we can see that we've got it's a little tight in here, but I think I can do it. So no, purple is J, which is the 100 microfarad 35 volt. Which I do believe is this guy right here. Oh, that's 47. Okay. So that would make this guy the... Really? I think the bigger capacitor would be... Oh, don't tell me I screwed up. Oh, I screwed up. Unless that's... No. I didn't screw up. Okay, thank God. Alright, so right next... Okay, thank God. Oof, boy, that scared the shit out of me. 3.350. 3.350. Okay. So this area is filled with a lot of through-hole capacitors. Should probably check my chat real quick. What's up, Felch? I don't know. Yeah, I kind of just... It's been so long since I've streamed that like I fell out of the groove of it and just said, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and just start working. So yeah, I really didn't post anywhere. I just kind of went live and just ran with it. And making my way through this PC Engine LT. Alright, so the edge of the board is H, which is right above T500. So yeah, so that is B. Alright, so let's see if we can get this one on without having to pull off that speaker connector, because I didn't melt it, but I definitely deformed it a little bit last time. Just the through-hole stuff is a little bit tricky to get out, because if there's any type of corrosion, it can be a pain in the butt. Now, again, I'm going to have negative to the north. I think I'm going to go ahead and get the transistor side soldered in first. I think that should give me enough room, honestly, to maybe sneak in through that transformer and solder it that way. A little canted, but I'll be alright. As long as I have easy access to the other one. Yeah, yeah. Actually was just talking about that to myself, but now I could talk to you about it. That the thing with streaming is that, if you really do want to build an audience or a community or whatever your goal is, the best way to do it is to be consistent with your schedule and just, stick to it. And I feel like my schedule of the weekends during the afternoon is really easy to keep on track with, but I was struggling with a lot, and I mean a lot of mental health shit in December, so I ended up just not having the mental capacity to do it. And then once you fall out of that groove, it's so hard to just kind of get back into it. I had to really, like, I almost skipped out on it again today. I was like, I don't feel like, part of me doesn't feel like soldering, like I just kind of want to relax today. But if I don't ever get back up on the horse again, it'll just be a pile of parts for me to never use, and I'd like to use these. Hmm, that did not solder. Yeah, I'm not getting good contact there. Uh, eh. I feel like I can't just. I might have to pull this thing off. See? I already did it. Damn it. It's what I wanted to avoid doing. Yeah, yeah, that's another thing, man. You only have so much mental capacity to go around. Um, and even with my job, especially, programming really is a huge brain drain. Um, it's very easy to just run out of brain power. It's the best way to put it, honestly. Like, you just don't have it in you. You just don't have it in you. Yeah, I got a little kitty wampus there, huh? I still think I'm on that pad, so I should be okay. It's also kind of why I only stream on the weekends. Is I don't think I'd have the brain power during the week to do this type of work, or at least there we go. Do it on stream, and you've probably got just as much pressure in your life because you're in more of a managerial position now. And thankfully I don't have to worry about that yet. I've kind of a feeling that's about to start heading my way with where I'm at in my company. Truthfully, I probably should be embracing it more than anything. Okay, 503. Let's see here. 503 was H, and then H is the 47 microfarad, 16 volt. I think that one was this guy. No, I think it was. That's 35 volt. Yeah, unfortunately, when your routine becomes get up, drink coffee, and watch YouTube for 8 hours, it's not very healthy. um, Not that there's anything wrong with that every once in a while, but yeah, it's kind of where I was for a while. 47. Was that what this was? Was this the 47? It was. And I'm guessing the other one, E22. Okay, cool. But yeah, I sticking to routine. I'm a very, very routine based person. I definitely understand where you're coming from. But yeah, it's just media consumption in general, Filchy. Like in YouTube, TikTok is even worse than YouTube in a lot of senses. But I don't like the content on TikTok, so it's easy for me to just not care about it. But there's so many cool and interesting things on YouTube that it is just easy to keep going next. And then next thing you know, it's like, your 12 hours have gone by. Oh, bro, shorts. Yeah, I watch a ton of shorts too. I'm the same way. It's just, oof. Yeah, don't. I had a TikTok kick for a little while when it was still relatively new, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and then I felt like the content was just most of it was just unoriginal. It's like somebody would come up with a funny idea, and then there would just be a million videos of that person's take on that idea, and it felt so lazy, and like I felt like I wasn't watching content more as I was just watching the same concept 1,000 times in a slightly different fashion. It just didn't appeal to me. And once I broke free of it, I never went back. I mean, like, Nips and all them are very big into TikTok, so they'll post a lot in Discord, and I'll watch what people post, but I won't go seek it out myself. Yeah, media consumption is it's a terrible thing in a sense. It's I don't want to call it a motivation killer, but um, it's definitely a time waster, and you don't realize it until you go, oh shit, my whole entire day is gone, and I could have done X. I could have put together a console, or I could have illustrated a panel, or whatever piece of art you're working on for the day. And I don't want to say there's no enrichment from YouTube, but you got to be careful. Yeah, yeah. I think, for me with YouTube, Joe, I spend a lot of time curating my algo to um, produce me content that I feel is relevant to what I'm interested in at the time. So I don't spend my days learning how snails have sex, like, which is cool on its own. But right now, like I was talking to Dead Air before when no one was here, I'm teaching myself Japanese, and so a lot of my content that I'm watching now is a lot of Japanese language content and stuff like that. So it's enriching, but at the same time, it's like you're still spending hours upon hours looking at a screen and ignoring the world. So it's six one way, half a dozen another. But you got to be careful because otherwise you'll end up watching just garbage content that doesn't do anything but rot your brain. At least I can make the excuse that my Japanese content is I'm actively learning something, or reinforcing what I'm learning. At least that's what I'm telling myself. I have come pretty far with my Japanese though. In a very short period of time, I can at least start to read some basic Japanese. So we got that going for me. Oh yeah, how far did you get with it there, Felchi? And why'd you quit? All right, so this one on the edge of the board. These two are M 470 16 volts. Oh, yeah, Joe. Midas Touch is amazing. I love Midas Touch too, like Ben Meiselas and all them, Michael Popak. Um, the only thing that I don't like about the Midas Touch network and a lot of political commentary in general is they repackage the same news in a slightly different way. And so you find yourself often watching the same video over and over and over again. And so like a lot of times like I think something new has happened and then I start watching the video and they're just talking about the same clip that somebody else had talked about the same day. So it's a little kind of crappy in that sense, but I love their coverage. And yeah, I'm not a political person, but after 2016, I kind of realized that there is a minimal amount of politics everybody should be a part of or pay attention to in their life to avoid massive tragedy. So yeah, so Felchi, there is a wonderful website out there called Italki, and for a long time you even just had Omegle, and you could go on Omegle and speak Japanese. But that is one of the big problems with, especially like Asian languages, is that if you don't have somebody to immerse yourself in that language with, it's very difficult to keep up with it. But yeah, if you ever get back into it, go check out Italki, and there are people who want to learn English while you want to learn their language, and so you can sit and at least talk with somebody. It's Italki, no e. Just I think if you just search Italki without the e, you should pull it up. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, I started watching Midas Touch. I think like last year, and I like Brian Taylor Cohen. Fair and Balanced. He's good too. There's a lot of really good political commentary out there. I like Fair and Balanced a lot because all of his videos are 5 minutes or less, and he doesn't really seem to repeat himself. So well, you know what, Felchi, if you I'm not there quite there yet. Like I'm literally just starting my journey here and I'm learning Japanese, and so I've just basically memorized the hiragana, the katakana, and all the combinations, and I'm good at that. But I can't speak it and I can't understand it just yet. But maybe in a couple of months, if you ever wanted to, I'd be more than willing to talk broken Japanese because I'm gonna need someone to speak with as well. So, but as I was saying before to Dead Air, my whole you know I've been in love with Japan probably since I was about 4 years old and got introduced to Voltron. And I told myself within the next 3 years, I want to go visit. I'm going to go do a 2 week trip to Japan. So that's kind of why I'm interested in learning the language right now. Oh, well, yeah, that'd be great. And you kind of have to learn. So, especially because I'm being self-taught, most of the Japanese language textbooks they're all written in Japanese. So you kind of gotta learn it. Like yes, yes, Joe, 100%. I mean, even if it's just basic stuff like basic politeness, that's the way I was also brought up. Was like if you're gonna go visit Spain, then learn some Spanish. Go if you're gonna go visit French or France, then learn some French. And You could technically go to Tokyo with zero knowledge of Japanese and be fine. It is an area of Japan that is, you might not have the most philosophical discussions in English, but you can definitely vacation there without knowing a single bit of Japanese. But I also want to travel outside of Tokyo, and a side thing is I want to make Japanese friends. Like, and you can't really do that unless you can communicate. Yeah, it is. That is one thing I've learned, Felchi. That you know, first of all, Japanese people really do love Americans and American culture, but they have a lot of respect for people who are trying to learn their language because they actually do understand how difficult it is. And so when you can go, even if it's broken Japanese and you sound like a 5 year old to them, they definitely really uh, get impressed if you can speak even just basic Japanese. And that's kind of where I want to get. Like if I can have small talk type conversations with people, even if it's slower and not like obviously I'm not a native speaker, that's where I want to get. So I could sit down at a bar with somebody and say, "Hey, what do you do for a job?" And do you have a family and all that stuff. Would be kind of cool to do. And I've been teaching, and I just love learning in general too. It's really interesting to me to start from nothing and then in a couple weeks to see like how far you've progressed. And like I knew nothing about the Japanese language, and now I can basically translate their entire alphabet into Roman based lettering, and I can start to read subtitles and translate the subtitles into Roman based letters. Even though I don't understand what the words mean, I can at least translate. And I've only started like 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty cool. See how far I've come. Luke Morris. That name does seem familiar. I watch a lot of Abroad in Japan. Is basically what got me. I mean, I started watching Abroad in Japan like 10 years ago, so he's kind of my new old stock. But there's so many English based Japanese channels like the Anime Man, Aki the Beast, or Aki the Best, and CWA, and you can get a lot of great content from English speaking people. So if you want to learn about the country, now the language, like Dojen is probably the most popular YouTuber for that. I've been following a few Japanese people who do more short space stuff that I really love. But I'm not there yet in the language. I want to learn more kanji before I start actually learning the language, just to make my learning process a little easier. All right, now what did I do with that other capacitor? There we are. And it should be another 470, eh? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so these are the last. Might have to clear this one out, huh? But it's kind of funny. I've made attempts to learn other languages, but I just never really got too far with it. There was a point where I was conversationally fluent in French, but it's language is one of those things where if you don't use it, it's just gonna die. You're never gonna keep up with it. And so I stopped speaking French, and now I can basically say like things like "I am a cow" and "Where's the bathroom?" and I don't have any pants and stuff like that. That's about all I can do. So, all right, Felch, good seeing you. Maybe we'll get some Power World in later. Or, yeah, at some point we probably got to do some more work for the company there. We haven't touched that game in a while. Kind of got a little started getting a little stale for me, but it's still fun. And I will look at that potential soldering mistake here in a second. Uh-oh. That should be okay, though. I think on this one. Just going to see if we can let some of that go through. Okay, so you said solder splash next to a lead I just snipped off. So that would be the edge of the board here. You mean that? That's a test pad. So we've got, this is the actual, just a little tiny bit of the lead. This is a test point right here. And then that right there is a test point. And that's the lead right there. Is that what you're talking about? I think we're okay though. Okay. Do appreciate the extra eyes though. Sometimes you end up missing something, and little bits of solder floating around or bridge connections is definitely something you want to, especially in the this is the power section here, the power input section. So definitely don't want to be bridging stuff when that's not supposed to be bridged. Now this guy, I'm pretty sure there's enough of a pad left here where this is, yeah, it's not floating. Unfortunately, this got all eaten away from the capacitor leakage. And I think we've got one more in this area, which should be my last through hole. And then I've got one more capacitor. And then I think I'm going to just call it a day. It has been a day. So let's go ahead and say that one is J, which is the 100 microfarad 35 volt. Yep. I want to just to show y'all, 100 microfarad 35 volt. And I'm going to go ahead and slot him through. Perfect. Okay. So you said you were from England. What portion of England are you from, Joe? Can't remember if I've asked you that before. Well, I certainly can't remember. I did have the opportunity, and I did take a trip out to Manchester for a week and spent a night and a afternoon in London. But that was my extent of European trips. I did enjoy it though. I was visiting at my girlfriend at the time's sister, who was at university on an exchange program at Manchester. And so, I think I was like 19 at the time, so it was really pretty awesome to go out and be able to have beer. And I was pretty big into rave culture in the States, and so we went out to a couple of clubs and did all the things associated with rave culture. Some shopping. London was cool. I got to see Buckingham Palace and changing of the guard and all that touristy stuff, and it was fun. I really enjoyed England. London was really cool. Just go ahead and quick little clean here. Down the south. Wiltshire. Okay. Can't say I'm too familiar. I have some buddies who live out in England right now that we talk to pretty consistently. Mr. Ordo Pilot is out there, and Katie Pilot, and a few other people I talk to on Discord. The coder is also out there, and so is Luke from Retro 6, who's another repair guy that I've got a lot of respect for. So, I do like the UK. And I will probably make, I'm thinking that if I ever go back out there, it's going to be more of an actual European trip, where I do 2 weeks and a couple days in different countries, like do London again, then Amsterdam, and maybe Ibiza. All that stuff is so close to each other. You guys are kind of lucky in that aspect, It's kind of the nice thing about living over in Europe is you can quite literally just drive to other countries in less time than it takes me to leave my state. And I do appreciate the comment about the nice end of YouTube. I hope people enjoy my streams. I always find board repair video streams and stuff to be very cathartic. I like watching people solve problems, even if it's just basic soldering work too. I really do enjoy that. And then E. We have 2 left. Ooh. Alright, so E is a 22 microfarad 35 volt. 2235, okay. Knew the rave scene at the time. Oh yeah. I love Carl Cox, man. I've seen Carl Cox play records so many times. He is the house godfather. Carl Cox used to have a residency in Washington, D.C., and we would see him quite regularly. Very, very good DJ. Very talented. I ran a crew helped run a crew of about 5 or 6 DJs, and we did weekly internet radio casts. We threw our own parties at nightclubs in the area, or just we would find venues that would allow us to do a party there and set up shop for a night. Those days, I miss those days. Still keep in touch with almost everybody from that era. But yeah, those are days. Oh no. Oh, good thing I caught that before I did the other side. Woo boy. This is the wrong capacitor. No biggie. Okay, so I think it's kind of hard. I mean, I'm guessing from the mentioning of Carl Cox that you're probably in the same age group as me. And from what I understand, it's pretty impossible for uh, British culture kids to not really at least be familiar with the rave scene. It was very, very underground in the States for the longest time. Yeah, Lewis is a good guy. He's very knowledgeable. I haven't really been too much of a fan of his latest content. Um, I will admit that. I kind of stopped watching him, but he is very talented and has helped and inspired a lot of people to do what we're doing. And I wish him the best. To just kind of the same thing with like Tronics Fix. Like I really used to like his videos a lot too. Ooh, this one's gonna be very tricky, huh? So this is the one that I might need to pull the speaker connector off of. But Tronics Fix's videos got to be very cookie cutter and less. It was less about the repair. He seems like he gives up on stuff way too quickly now. I don't know. It just stopped interesting me. So I stopped really watching Tronics Fix stuff. Shit. Well, that didn't work. All right, let's see here. We gotta get. We just gotta get a better approach on this guy here. Lewis is definitely one really good guy, so that's for sure. He's done a lot of recent activism work that I kind of really respect. I'm very big into the right to repair stuff. I have a big qualm. I have a big gripe with how our culture has turned into a throwaway culture, and how manufacturers seem to actively work against consumers repairing their own devices. When I just think it's silly, and I think you have a secondary market you could appeal to, and if I could buy replacement parts and repair my own device, to me, that is a huge selling point, and that would be something that would push me to buying your product over somebody else's. You know? Okay, so this one's gonna be fun, huh? How am I gonna get to this guy? I'm thinking. Yeah, I could. I definitely have more room than I thought. That was the 2233, right? Very good thing. Yeah, I just don't understand it. It's like once I buy a product, it is my product. I should be able to do whatever the hell I want with it as long as it's not hurting somebody else in a sense, you know? Well, that went smoother than I expected. Okay. And it used to be even worse. Like we did have some reform in our country, and so like you can't do things like warranty void if sticker broken. That's just not a thing anymore, but it used to be. And so it was like they would actively discourage people from repairing their own things because, surprise, surprise, they would rather sell you the product again I guess I'm going to have to refocus. They would rather resell you the product than let you repair it. And that's just, I don't know, it's just shitty. It increases waste, it's more expensive. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, they would train people, like, you know, the Harley Davidson and military. They trained so many of those soldiers to repair their motorcycles. And so those guys came back from the war and they had a skilled trade. Okay, and then there was one. Alright, folks, this is the last capacitor of the day. And we're just going to double check on that. It is I, and I is a 100 microfarad 6.3 volt capacitor facing the north, right? I'll check on that, but nope, facing the north. So unfortunately, I do have some solder already on there, but we can work around that. I can just do the old slide in place. This is an old technique that you can also use. And then we just re-wet. Bam. Looking good. And then yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while before this thing. It is very country dependent. There are some countries that still do things like that, and I think there are some extra laws. Like if you, as a repair tech, repair somebody's device, I think you do kind of reserve the right to void your own warranty on stuff, because I think at that point it muddies the water on like what caused the issue, whether it was the repair tech's or your attempt to fix the repair tech's work. So that's a little bit of a gray area, but for the most part, warranty is void, just doesn't apply anymore. But they do things that are very, very similar. Apple's very well known for this. But they'll do things like make a very specific part. I think recently with Apple it was like a lid sensor, like detecting when your laptop lid was closed. But they made it so that consumers couldn't buy that specific, very specific IC. And so what would happen is it would detect that it wasn't an actual Apple chip and prevent you from using your machine. So it's like stuff like that is like the same thing. It's just so slimy, like, and you can't buy the, or you used to not be able to buy the chip. And the same thing with like Nintendo Switches. Like you can't buy, I can't go out and buy a new APU. I can't replace my NAND on it because they're married to each other and there's no way to fix that. So it's all these little weird things they can do to kind of like prevent people from completely fixing stuff without having to salvage parts from a broken console or completely rebuild an APU or, you know, whatever the case is. It's I don't know, it's just shitty. Oh, of course my webcam is just not working anymore. I hate that it does this. I gotta figure this out. I don't know if it's a USB thing or what, but like it loses connection and then I gotta reboot it. Sometimes it doesn't even want to work. There we go. Yeah, you know, and the thing is I used to be a pretty big Apple fanboy back in the day. I grew up using Macintosh computers. My very first computer was an Apple IIe. I used Mac exclusively up until probably about the Quadra series. And then At that point, they were going through some company issues, and so we kind of made a switch over to IBM PC stuff, and I stopped using Macs. I'm using a Mac for my job right now, but I'm using a Mac in the worst way, which is using it to run Windows. So I'm not a very big fan of the products. I had an iPhone 2 for a year or two, and they're okay. I don't like the draconian measures they take with a lot of things, and I never felt like my device was my device. If I wanted to put music on it, I couldn't plug it into my computer and just throw music on it. I had to use iTunes, and iTunes sucked, and just so much crap. And then Android got to the point where they stabilized, and I've been an Android user for years now. I'm a Pixel guy, I'm a Pixel fanboy. Wow. Well, folks, that is a fully recapped PC Engine LT. And I think that's where we're going to stop for the day, because I actually surprisingly have a massive freaking headache creeping in, and I want to go lie down. But I did accomplish what I wanted to accomplish today, which is I really wanted to get this board repopulated. And then tomorrow I'll probably come in. We'll clean up the cartridge connector holes and then get that soldered back in, and then run some basic sanity tests to make sure everything's still working on it, because I do know that before I took everything off, it was a fully functional system, so I've got that going for me. And then hopefully by tomorrow we'll have this buttoned up and added to my collection, and I can sell the other one I have, and we'll move on to the Neo Geos if there's time. So I think that's what we're going to do. What is my day-to-day meal ticket? Can you explain what that means? I don't understand what you mean. How much does it cost me to... What's my cost of living? Is that what you're asking? What's my work? I'm a software developer. I work for a small sports media company here in Arkansas, and I basically write a lot of back end based software API, SQL stuff, internal software, a lot of web development. So a lot of. All right. Well, yeah, there comes my headache. So I am going to just go boop. Oh, look at that. That's shit. Oh, my stream is just so broken half the time. Let's try this and see if this works. Bam! Now it's working. All right. Oh, my head hurts. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go take some aspirin and go lie down. I do appreciate everybody who stopped by. It is good to see everybody again. I took a very, very long break, and hopefully that's the end of that. So I will be back tomorrow. That is the plan. I really, really, really am going to stick to that. We're going to get this LT put back together at the very least and running. Hopefully, if I have time, I will get to working on some Neo Geo stuff, and we can learn how to tune the RGB output for that. So that's the plan. And then, uh, just so everybody knows, if you can't make it tomorrow, I do try to stream every weekend, Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I usually start between 11 and noon, go for a couple hours, and call it a day. Today's a little bit lighter of a day. Just getting back into the swing of things, and like once again, just not been feeling well. So, uh, taking it easy today. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully around 11 a.m. And we'll get this LT buttoned up. Hope to see you there. So, once again, thanks for anybody stop by, like, subscribes, and all that stuff in the future. I really do appreciate it. If you are watching this later, try to maybe stop by on the weekend and come say hi. I'd love to have you in the chat. All right, guys, it was good getting back to this. It felt good doing some work today. I am going to go lie down. I hope you have a wonderful evening. If I don't see you here tomorrow, I hope the rest of your weekend and your week is great.